All right, I was muted. We have Stuart, Mark, Andrew, and Sherry. We've got 7 here. Sandy's listening outside. I guess she didn't feel like coming in, which I certainly understand. And let's go ahead and get started. It's up there, number 875. I had turned the TV off because it will go off after 4 hours. I need to reset the timer. All right, 875. And I left my song. What's that? 875. And let this have a bit of an alto lead. Got Alice and David as well as the Crabtrees. And Sandy's listening out in the vehicle. 875. Then we'll have our Bible class. And Sandy said she was listening. So, okay. Glad you're listening, Sandy. If for the prize we have striven, after our labors are o'er, rest to our souls will be given on the eternal shore. Home of the soul, beautiful home, there we shall rest, never to roam, free from all care, happy and bright. Jesus is there, He is the light. Off in the storm, lonely are we, sighing for home, for the beautiful home of the ransom beside the crystal sea. Yes, a sweet rest is remaining for the true children of God, where there will be no complaining, never a chastening rod. Home of the soul, beautiful home, there we shall rest, never to roam, free from all care, happy and bright. Jesus is there, He is the light. Off in the storm, lonely are we, sighing for home, longing for the beautiful home of the ransom beside the crystal sea. Soon the bright homeland adorning, we shall behold the glad dawn. Lean on the Lord till the morning, trust till the night is gone. Home of the soul, beautiful home, there we shall rest, never to roam, free from all care, happy and bright. Jesus is there, He is the light. Off in the storm, lonely are we, sighing for home, longing for the beautiful home of the ransom beside the crystal sea. All right, let's have our classes. Kinsley, did you say y'all were leaving after class? All right. We may just have class all day. Now we'll go to about 25 after. Turn, if you will, to Romans chapter 12. Let's see, didn't have the screen turned there. And we added Jean to our listeners. Good to have you this morning and all that were here this morning and that are listening now. Romans chapter 12. This chapter is not too awfully long. It's only 21 verses, but I'm thinking about splitting it into twos because there's so much in this chapter. As I was going over it last night, I thought, I just can't do all this in one setting of the way that I want to do it. So Paul's just writing some general good advice to them and to us as well. So let's look at least at half of the chapter. I want to get on through Romans so we can get to another book, but I don't want to rush it either. Paul wrote, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. It's sort of interesting because he's been talking to them so much about the old law, and of course under the old law you did have sacrifices. You had animals that you sacrificed, but other things as well. Sometimes it could be food and drink and grain and the such like. But the animals would have been one of the greatest things that they gave as far as any loss. It had to be a sacrifice. But he said, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, the fact that God is merciful to us lets us do this, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. And I emphasize yours as opposed to the body of bulls and goats, and then bring it on to the New Testament, the body of Christ. But present your bodies, not a sacrifice that's to be killed, but a living sacrifice. Give yourself over to the Lord. And that would be, obviously, in any kind of service we could do. There are people who literally sacrifice themselves in some kind of service where that they don't have it as easy. Maybe missionaries in another country where that things are hard. Even the missionaries that we've been supporting and helping in Coquin, Honduras. I know it's a sacrifice to be away from family. I was reading their newsletter, I think the latest one, and she was talking about, was glad that their children, two of their three, I think they have 3 children, 2 of them got to come down during the holidays and was so glad to see them. So it's a sacrifice of being away from your family. I'd seen in her newsletter, and I emailed her about it, and she appreciated it, that her mother died just a couple months ago, and I think she had to come to the States for that. So you don't get to be with family a lot of times in their last years. You maybe not get to see children and grandchildren. You certainly don't have the amenities of what living in the U.S. has, of the groceries and the luxuries that we have. And so people are presenting themselves as sacrifice. But you don't have to do that to sacrifice as well. We can do things for the Lord now, sacrifice. Maybe attending when we don't feel like it, coming to worship, because worship not only helps you, it helps others. It's good to see a lot of people here. And it's the time that most of us, the only time we see each other. So a sacrifice, maybe you are tired, maybe you don't feel good, but you push on and come to services anyway. That's a sacrifice, a living sacrifice. And you could probably think of many other ways that we sacrifice as well. Perhaps maybe someone, I'm not talking about myself, maybe gave up a career that they wanted to preach instead, where they could have made maybe a lot more money doing something else. You present yourself as sacrifice to be able to do. And, I don't consider what I have done even a sacrifice. I love doing it. And if it hadn't been for Ruby's wonderful career, it would have been hard to do. And so you sacrifice to be able to serve the Lord. A living sacrifice. Holy. He has that word, of course, in the English, they put it with the, the commas there. But just to have your sacrifice not only living, but it's holy. It's set aside for the Lord. You know that it is certainly, I see the word here, holy, hagios, which means sanctified or holy. Give yourselves, present yourselves holy to the Lord. This word for holy, and I hope it's a Greek word, you may with time remember, hagios, it just means holy. It's translated saints or holy one. 3 times it's translated something else, and I don't know what they are here. I'm going to look it up on the phone app, see if it tells me. It does. More details here. For a 99-cent app, I have worn it out. So that word hagios is translated holy. It's a little different here, 153 times. I don't know why it has a different there. But 60 times saints, 4 times it's translated one, Once it's translated saint, once it's translated saints, possessive, and once a thing. And so, it's just what is blameless or presented before God. And we need to be that way, a holy thing. May have a little bit more information down here, because he says be holy. You can see a lot of it. Very pure, sincere, dedicated, consecrated to God. Present yourself this way to him, that you're giving your all to the Lord. Holy. Set aside from the world. Different. Acceptable unto God. It's something that God wants. You remember the first sacrifice that we know about really in the Bible. Cain and Abel. Cain's was accepted. Abel's was not. I had someone here actually ask me about that. Why that one was accepted, one was not. Apparently they had been told what to give. You just have to assume. But Cain's was not. Abel gave actual blood sacrifice, or Abel did, and Cain gave, vegetation, which is easily replaceable.
But the earth was cursed by God after they left
After they left the Garden of Eden.
And would that possibly have been because he said he would curse the ground where they would have to live by sweating?
Well, that's a good point I hadn't considered, Larry, and that is a good point, because he said he would curse the ground. And then chapter 8, he would not curse the ground again for anyone's sake. And so I thought always the ground being cursed is just going to be hard to raise things, like maybe rocks and thorns and thistles and scrub brush and the such like. But maybe the Lord didn't want sacrifice from the ground until after it was not cursed, because it says in chapter 8 it was not cursed anymore. And that's a good point that I have not considered, Larry. That's why that we do study together, because you see in Genesis 8, I will not again curse the ground for any more man's sake. And I will say this, after Genesis 8, I know, Larry, farming, you still have on your farm, you may not, do you have any rocks? I mean, Larry lives down toward Park City. There's in Park City, a lot of rocks. There's still thorns. There's still, things hard to do. Briars and thistles. And so, I hadn't thought about this until Larry brought that up, and I'm glad he did. Genesis 8, he said, I won't curse the ground anymore. But thorns and thistles and rocks still came. So this curse that he stopped must have been something else. And so the curse, I think it may be actually cursed, is, and thou art cursed from the earth. It says, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. And so it had been cursed. And so the Lord may not wanted sacrifices from the earth because of this curse. I don't know. But for some reason, the Lord gave Cain another chance to make his offering right. It says, Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. This is Genesis 4. And Abel, he also brought the firstlings of his flocks and the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering. And to Cain he did not. Excuse me, I was about to sneeze here. And so he gave him another chance. It says, if you do well, shall you not be accepted. So his sacrifice was not. We're not told why it wasn't, but I think the earth being cursed is a good point. And obviously the Lord must have told them he wanted animals given, because Cain knew what to do. You probably wouldn't have just killed an animal. Just given your best to the Lord. And he may have said something like that, give your most valued to the Lord. So that's what we need to do with the Lord now. Give our best. That's why when we give, I think we need to give first, and other things fall into place. We need to attend first. If that means missing something else, that's fine. Give your sacrifice, your best to the Lord, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. It says spiritual service here. It's just reasonable for us to do this, to give our best to the Lord. You can see why I wasn't going to get through the chapter. I may not get through verse 1.
But and also Cain may have been acceptable, but he was not true in what he was doing.
Yeah, and it doesn't indicate anything about him giving his best, really, you know.
So, you get,
But whatever he did, it wasn't acceptable.
yeah, I loved it. Anyway, I had always just wondered about that.
Well, that is a good point. I'm glad you mentioned it. The ground was cursed at this point, and then not after Genesis 8. All right, you can see why I had so much in this chapter. So do these things and be not conformed to this world. Don't be like the world. Conformed means to be shaped like. The word here, conformed, is fashioned to that pattern, to look like it. And be not conformed to this world. We've got to be different from the world. We're in the world, but we're not part of it. We can't do the things that the world does. The world is interested in other things. You know, we're going to have the Super Bowl soon, and it'll be massive crowds and such like. And people are conformed to the things of this world. But he said, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Make yourself different from the world. Be transformed by the renewing. Make your mind new, you know, spiritually he's talking about, that you may prove that which is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. There's a lot here we could go through, but don't be like the world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Think differently. Be different from the world. You know, you don't have to look but a few minutes to know that the world is totally lost and confused. There's anger, there's riots, there's protests. People are really against the Word of God. And I was actually watching the other day. It's no one y'all would be familiar with, but it's a guy that's done some science fiction writing, had a little success, or quite a bit, I guess. And he said that he's been blacklisted by every major publisher. He's had to start publishing himself because he posted some videos on YouTube calling out sin. He referred to the LGBTQ agenda as evil, you know, and things like that. He's a very Christian writer. I've actually talked to him a few times. And I commented how clean his writing was. He said, well, if anything, I've become more Christian in my writing. And he said nobody will publish him anymore or anything because of his Christian views, basically. And so you've got to be different from the world. I don't know if he's a member of the church or not, but I do know he's very spiritual. And so we can't be like the world. And the world's not going to accept us, but that's okay. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove. Now the word prove here might be a little different than what we use in English, but examine and to approve or scrutinize. It says as with metals here, you examine. Prove that which is good. Look and see what is a good thing to do and acceptable and perfect will of God. Use your mind to think, is this good? I wonder if this movie would be good to watch. No, before Ruby and I ever watch a movie, of course I obviously look at the rating, but almost every movie available they have, I can go to the International Movie Database and it will tell me every word or scene in it that I might not want. I was watching, have y'all ever seen, it's probably one of the best children's movies ever. You remember the movies from eons, many years ago, Babe, about the pig, you know? I looked it up just to see what listings it had, and it gave some parental guidance. It said because someone in there said pigs are stupid. And they gave warning about that. I thought if that's what they're concerned about, well, I had to admit pigs can't do math, and so it's probably all right. But still, movies are horrible today. Prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Well, I see that the time, but you know, when I was 18 years old, I could not go to the movie and see what you see on the commercials now on TV.
You're right.
Everyone.
Things have changed and not for the better.
It's just unbelievable.
It is. Evil men shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived, Paul wrote. And they do. I see that so true. Be not conformed to this world. I actually look at the Greek here. I think it says, be not conceived to this age. I think this actually says age in the Greek, this time. It does. I'm not the best Greek person in the world, but I probably would have put that. Be not conceived to this time that you're living in. We live in an evil time. All times are evil and have different things. But, the Wild West many years ago, open sin of things in town and killings and the such like. So it all comes around different ways. I know I've told this, but Mom's grandmother, when she first saw television come around, she would actually cover her eyes to not see. It bothered her. It would knock her eyeballs out now. And so don't be conformed to this world. For I say, verse 3, through the grace given unto me to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. I think just be humble, follow these spiritual things, but to think soberly. This is seriously, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. So, whatever faith that you have, use it to not think high of yourself, to think soberly, to be serious. The word soberly here means... I looked up the wrong word. I looked at the preposition here. Well, don't you see the word soberly? Oh, okay. I had to go to this second. To be of sound mind, to exercise self-control, moderate estimate upon oneself, to curb one's passions. I know in the 60s, and probably into the 70s. Larry, of course, remembers the 60s obviously well. But it was a common saying, do your what? Own thing. That was, and I know John Lennon had a song, whatever gets you through the night, just do it, basically. It's called Whatever Gets You Through the Night. People were really promoting just do your own thing. It didn't matter if it was sin. And I don't want to be too plain, but there's another group that had a song, Love the One You're With. That's obviously promoting adultery and the such like. And I hope I'm not too plain in saying that. But those are songs from my childhood. I don't listen to any current songs. I can't imagine what must be promoted. But be sober, not to think more highly of yourself than you ought to. Be very humble. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, he's talking about the church as a whole here. I'm not sure I'm going to get a quarter of the way through. I'd like to have gotten through verse 10. We may push it a little longer. We have many members in one body, and all the members have not the same office. He's talking about the church here, as you can see. For we, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. He wrote about this to the Corinthians as well. It's like your body is one body, and they all function together, and that's the way that the church is. Having then gifts differing according to the grace is given to us. So we all have different gifts and abilities. Just like in your body, different things do different functions. There's some things we just can't live without. Heart, brain, lungs. There's things we can live without. A lot of people end up losing a hand or arm or something like that, but they still function, but it still definitely makes a difference. I think often if I were to lose one of my hands, especially my right one, I'm not sure I could do the bulletin and all. It'd be hard to type and do. I would learn how, but it would be very difficult. I depend on typing so much. Having then gifts differing according to the graces given to us. So whatever gift you have, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. How much faith you have, use your gift in proportion to that. And your faith will grow by studying, he told him. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teacheth, on teaching. Whatever you do. Or he that exhorteth, or an exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. See, he even calls giving a gift. Do it liberally, he says here in this translation. He that ruleth with diligence, he that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. I went through these a little quick, but whatever you do, do it humbly and simply and to the measure of your faith. Let love be without dissimulation. The other two translations say hypocrisy. So really love people genuinely. I like this phrase here, abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Absolutely just can't stand evil stuff. David wrote something like that. He referred to perfect hatred. We don't think of hatred as being perfect. Spell hatred right. Do not I hate them? This is Psalm 139:21. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? Am I not grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them mine enemies. Hatred's a very biblical thing when you're against evil. Abhor that which is evil. All right. Just looking here a little bit. Let's I think I'll stop there. We're almost out of time. But let's discuss a little bit, because I'm going to pick up with our relations more toward one another about brotherly love, honor, don't be slothful in business, be fervent in spirit. You can see why I wanted to break these up. There's so much helping the saints. So verse 9 here just stops with our relation to the world. And then it goes into our relation to each other. So our relation to the world, abhor that which is evil. You need to absolutely can't stand it. Let me see what the word abhor says here. We know what it means. To dislike, to have a horror of. There's things that absolutely scare you, I know. There are things that really bring fear upon your heart. It could be, on a dark night, coming into a house when the power's off, you hear a sound. That really scares you. You hear something in the night, or other things that you're really afraid of. Many people are really afraid of maybe getting cancer or having an automobile accident because maybe they had family member die that way. To really dislike, to have a horror of. But we need to have a horror of that which is evil. The word evil here, I looked it up a while ago, is just something that's evil, bad, harmful. The evil or wicked one, it can be. I think it's words used in Matthew 13:19. We need to abhor anything that's wicked. You see how that things that are wicked have brought such bad things to our nations. Larry was talking about when he was young, going to a movie. You saw things far worse on commercials now, and you do see. Have y'all noticed it's just me, the subtle things, like they will be advertising maybe an air freshener or laundry detergent, and they show the family and it's two men. I've seen that a lot lately. And I asked Ruby the other day, I said, was that two men on that commercial? She said, I think so. And it really bothers me. It makes me not want to buy the product. We really abhor that which is evil. The world thinks that we're being judgmental, that we're being prejudiced, but the Bible commands us to abhor that which is evil, and it is. And these things, and Stuart Franklin had mentioned, it's called where the world just gradually accepts that we, what was the phrase he used? That, you just gradually accept with time, it becomes a normalizing sin. That's what he said. They make it the norm, and it's not to be. Are there any questions or comments? I've gone a little longer because I know the girls are going to leave after class. I assume not Ruby, I'm hoping, because we're in her car. Kathy, I know you have mentioned this, but I know you see some sinful things at Walmart. You can see when hot weather comes, the dress doesn't get more decent, does it? It's horrible. And people are just living in sin and don't care.
And
Language.
every day, year round.
You don't mean from workers, I'm sure. I'm just kidding. And I know the people here that do factory work. So how do you do? Just, I guess, say a little prayer for yourself, maybe quote a verse to yourself and try not to listen. I tell you, and I've mentioned this so many times, what bothers me so much is taking the Lord's name in vain. That is just so common anymore that even a lot of shows that are PG that Ruby and I have tried to watch, and I stop it if they do. Even a lot of the very simple romantic comedies put out, I hear OMG, except the full phrase of it, all the time. And that really does bother me. And it's just, it says, for they speak against thee wickedly. This is Psalm 139:20. And thine enemies take thy name in vain. When you hear someone use the Lord's name in vain, they are the Lord's enemy. And I don't think they realize that. And it's a very serious thing indeed. Well, we'll stop there then. And I did go a little bit longer. Let me go knock on the door, and I'll go ahead and queue up for Exodus 13. Is there anything else? All right, we can go. That's the next song. We'll get ready for them. Give me just a moment here. Tissue. So I won't post this is for Sherry Crabtree. I won't post a lesson tomorrow since we didn't finish chapter 12. I've already got them done through most of Romans, but Sherry, you can have one of your boys or Stuart answer for me. I assume you still do the lessons, which I appreciate greatly. I like doing them because it makes me read the chapter closer and have lessons for future generations as well. So I won't post a lesson tomorrow for 13. I've got it done, but I'll wait until we finish 12. All right, our song's going to be 627, as you all can see here. We'll give them a little bit longer because the girls are going to leave. I'm glad they came back for class. Oh, Chris Bush listening to the second half, so he's just tuning in with us. Chris will be getting going in a minute, waiting for the other class. I'm going to take a quick break while we wait for them. I didn't want to announce she turned 65 this week. I tell you what, you're still here.
That's right.
Larry, that probably seems pretty young to you now, doesn't it?
Really young.
The other day I commented, to Ruby, I said, Larry's going to be 80. His birthday, she said 80.
Yeah, 80.
A little hard to believe, isn't it?
It is. Seemed like I was just 39 last week.
This month's around half over, it just keeps getting faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
That's all right. I feel like I'm running and sprinting toward heaven. Just jump over the finish line. Yeah, I know you got choices to make, but I did tell Ruby, I said, I really hope Katie retire soon.
I'm closer than I was.
That's true.
Getting closer to that.
That's right.
You have so much time, more study and reading time, do with your ducks and chicks.
Outside stuff, you know.
Chase your wish.
I know there's a fence. You don't have any trouble them getting on the interstate, do you?
No?
I don't think anyone's going to need Lord's Supper today. Adam, you were here. You won't need Lord's Supper, will you?
No, I was here earlier.
I was just double checking. I saw you. I want to make sure.
Have you heard from Taylor?
I have not. He was sick last week, I think. And Chris Duncan, they were here part of last week, but he works every other Sunday, I think.
And Elaine's.
I had heard from her, but they've been sick, so. I keep saying the girls, I forgot Bennett was in there.
There it is.
Sorry, Bennett.
No, that's two.
No.
That's the back.
All right, those listening online, appreciate you waiting. Gave them in class just a little bit longer. Mark said yes, talking about, appreciate you answering, Mark, that she does do the lessons, which I greatly appreciate someone doing it. See you, girls. All right, number 627. There's a royal banner, and then we'll look at Exodus 12. We'll probably do all the chapter tonight, or I always say tonight, but Exodus 13. It's 22 verses, but we'll probably read more through it. 627. There's a royal banner given for display to the soldiers of the King. As an ensign fair we lift it up today, while the ransom ones we sing. Marching on, for everything belongs. For the King of Kings, toil and sing, 'neath the banner of the cross. Over land and sea, wherever man may dwell, make the glorious tidings known. Of the crimson banner now the story tell, while the Lord shall claim his own. Marching on, for Christ count everything but law. For the King of Kings, toil and sing, 'neath the banner of the cross. When the great commander from the vaulted sky sends the resurrection day, then before our King the fainting foe shall die, and the saints shall march away. Marching on, for Christ count everything but law. For the King of Kings, toil and sing, 'neath the banner of the cross. All right, turn if you will to Exodus 13. Last week we closed out with, of course, they were about leaving Egypt and what they were to do with the Passover, whether one born, homeborn, or stranger, they were to keep it. There was one law for all of them. And so this began their months here, so this was about April. It came to pass the selfsame day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. So let's look at chapter 13 now. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, and that is the same word as holy, hagios here. Sanctify unto me all the firstborn. Whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And so like in service to the Lord or in sacrifice of the animals, all the firstborn were to be sanctified to the Lord. And Moses said to the people, Remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. And of course that was during this time, not always. It was during the celebration of the Passover that they had done. This day came ye out in the month Abib. I was going to look here at the Greek. It actually doesn't have Abib listed here. It just says you came out in the month the new. I think this is month here. The Greek word, it had to do with the moon. Measure the month. But the month that actually was named, it may have been later on, Abib. It wasn't here, but it means, actually this means young barley ears. month of ear forming, of greening of crop, is the month of Exodus and Passover, and it happened in March or April. And so that was the month that they came out. And this began their months. It's when the Lord wanted them to start their calendar. He hasn't given the same for us, except, the first day of the week. He didn't command about the months of our years. And I think, part of that was really prophesied, and reason it didn't keep into the New Testament. Because I was looking here in Daniel, it was prophesied that one would, kings would rise up, 10 horns and 10 kings, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High. There's going to be a lot of persecution, and to change times and laws. And so times were going to be changed. And if he's referring to the Roman Empire, who are our months named after? August, Caesar Augustus, Julius Caesar, July. And so I think with this coming up, the Lord let us not have to hold to that calendar, because people are going to be forced to take a new calendar, the Julian calendar. Now we're under the Gregorian calendar. I think I've got it right. As a matter of fact, since we got a little bit of extra time, it's not too long. I want to check the Gregorian calendar. I want to see when it really started. I don't know when it began. 1969 had a general revision of one of the calendars. See when it began. It began in 1582. And it was named after Pope Gregory, who the calendar is named. So see, people would come that would be changing times. And so the Roman emperors did, and popes did, so he said it all came out of Rome, the changing of times. And there's been, people want to change calendars, even within my lifetime. I remember when I was in college, there was some talk about, and people talked about others had talked about having a 13-month year instead of 12. But that never went anywhere. This day came me out in the month Abib. And this shall be when the Lord shall bring you into the land. Now this is sometimes, why do you have trouble? Why are blockades put in your way? Because the Lord knows it's best for you. You're going to see that here. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey. Thou shalt keep this service in this month. So that's a metaphor you're going to see a lot in the Bible, flowing with milk and honey. Just that was good foods, and just meant it was so much of it was flowing. Just meant really good things. And so these lands, I will mention the Jebusites real quick. They were from the Jerusalem area, descendants of Jebus, the early name for Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, Jerusalem as a name was not even mentioned, was until Joshua, and Joshua 10 is the first time that Jerusalem's ever mentioned in the Bible. And so they come into this land. They would keep this month, this service. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast unto the Lord. So they had to eat unleavened bread for the 7 days here. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall be no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen within all thy quarters, with thee in all thy quarters. So the leaven, they couldn't even have any leavened bread. You couldn't have leaven in the house. Now I'm not certainly the most upon this, but leaven would be like yeast, wouldn't it, that would make things rise. And leaven, if I just look it up of what leaven is, I'm going to look up leaven. It just says leaven. Matter of fact, let me look it up in a regular, just dictionary. I'll just put, what is leaven? Given a lot of things here. Mostly computer memory and such like. What is leaven in bread? It's a substance like yeast or baking powder that makes dough rise by producing gas, usually carbon dioxide, creating a lighter, airier texture with a soft crumb. And so that's basically it. It makes bread rise. I know when I was young, people cooking would have a cake. They would tell me to not do something in the house. Don't jump. Don't run loud. It'd make the cake fall. And so they couldn't have any kind of leaven because you had to wait for it to rise. This was what they had to do in leaving quickly. So they couldn't have any leavened bread or any leaven in all thy quarters. Couldn't even be any in the house. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. It's interesting the way that's worded. Whenever families would talk to their children and tell them why they were keeping the Passover, he said, This is what was done to me. And it was a very personal thing. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth, for the strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. I don't think he's talking about them literally having a sign on their hand or something between their eyes. It's what they were handling, what they were seeing. It was close to them, the law in their mouth. The law in their mouth was obviously figurative, and the others no doubt were as well. Everything was close to them. That's why it's important that we're together and like take the Lord's Supper. It's a memorial that we touch, taste, handle. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in this season from year to year. So every year, about the 1st of April, they would keep this ordinance. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix. Matrix is an old word for the womb. It's interesting because it's usually computer math and the such like is matrix. But it means a woman. I don't know exactly why it was called matrix, probably the shape, somewhat. But it is a womb. Thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. So every male that was born, woman or beast, was the Lord's. You didn't sacrifice the men, but they were given in service. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. So what's the difference between an ass and a lamb? Unclean and clean. Obviously there's a difference between a donkey and a lamb. But an ass was unclean and a lamb was clean. So if you had an ass born, it was unclean, but you could redeem it with a lamb, make it special. They were unclean. Do you see the fittingness of this here? I don't know if fittingness is a word or not exactly. How that this applies. We're sinful and unclean. We're the unclean donkey or ass. How were we redeemed? With the Lamb of Jesus. And if thou will not redeem it, thou shalt break his neck. You had to kill the donkey. If you weren't going to redeem it, just kill it. And you had to break its neck. And all the firstborn of a man among thy children thou shalt redeem. So this covered the unclean animals. Asses were very important because they were beasts of burden. They could pull, plow, carry things, but they were unclean. But they were made, quote, clean and accepted in service because you redeemed them with the lamb. Now, I'm just guessing here. I mean, we may know more later. What do you think they probably did with the lamb to redeem the ass? Had to be killed, didn't it? Sacrificed. The lamb gave itself for the ass, for the unclean animal. It doesn't mention horses here, but horses were unclean as well. All right. And all the firstborn of man among thy children thou shalt redeem. And it shall be when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What is this? So they may be puzzled. Why are you killing this lamb for this donkey? What is this? Thou shalt say unto him, By strength of hand the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. You're to tell them about this event. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And so, the firstborn of the Egyptians he killed, but of the children of Israel, they were redeemed. I want to look, because this word's used a lot. I'm just going to look up real quick, define matrix. First thing you're going to see is math and computer science, I'm sure. Not necessarily. Mathematics, a rectangular array of quantities. Just to show you, this is one of the things. Math matrix. It's pretty, you get into some pretty complex math, and I don't want to this right here, the bottom line, this is why video games work. You have to multiply these matrix of tables to get the three-dimensional look. It's very, very complex. But I actually looked up defining matrix, an environment or material in which something develops, a surrounding medium or structure. So you can see why the womb was called a matrix. Biology, the lipid matrix of olfactory cells. So very much still used today in certain circles. So all that open the matrix being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. 21 verses, and that'll be 22 will be it for today. And this will be for a token upon thy hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes. For by strength of hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. I don't think he was literally telling them to wear certain things upon their hands. I think it was a metaphor. This is always right at them, and I could be wrong on that. But he had them do other things that were more like just figures of speech. It shall be for a token upon thy hand, for frontlets between thy eyes. It's something they were always touching and handling and seeing. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them. Now here's where the Lord puts things in our way sometimes. Maybe the death of a family member or something. Because it ends up being better for us in the long run. And it came to pass when Pharaoh had let his people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. They could have gone through the Philistines. It was close. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. It was closer if they'd just gone up the coast by the Philistines. He said, but there was war going on. They'll get scared and go back. I'm going to lead them a longer way. So the Lord has reasons for leading long ways sometimes. But God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up harnessed, armed, out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him. Now remember, this is over 400 years ago. He had been embalmed, but he took his, obviously in some kind of sarcophagus. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, I assume it was, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and he shall carry up my bones away hence with you. So centuries before Joseph had asked to be taken back to Canaan. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness. I love the way the Lord watched out over them all the time. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them by the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. So every day they would see this pillar of cloud. And every night they would see this fire just always there to give them light and guidance. And the last verse, he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. I was going real quick here. We're about out of time, but we don't have anyone doing the Lord's Supper. I want to show you the Exodus pillar of fire. Just what artists have drawn this as. I remember seeing these so much as a child. There's someone's rendition. Oh, it's got them both, Ruby. There, looks very good. Pillar of fire and the cloud, and then the fire at night. Just people have drawn the way that this may have looked. And, of course, we have no idea, but I know what fire looks like, and I know what cloud looks like. Can you imagine seeing this every day and knowing the Lord's there leading you, seeing this every night? In the wilderness, this was obviously in ancient times. There's no lights. They were provided a nice light for them at night to be able to see, to get up and go. And I've never thought of this till just a while ago. I wonder how many people use this at somewhat time Well, it's morning. We need to get going because the pillar just changed from fire to cloud. It's daytime now. I wonder if they use this as somewhat of a clock. Set a little timekeeping for them. Just something to think about. But anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. Well, we'll stop there and pick up next week with Exodus 14. See how long it is. 31 verses. We're going to get back to Pharaoh a little bit, and he's going to pursue them. Okay, no one needs the Lord's Supper, do they? All right. Turn, if you will, to our last song today, 738. Appreciate each one tuning in and all who are here. As always, if you need to obey the gospel, you see the plan of salvation there. It's something that you want to take care of as soon as possible. Don't forget our services tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm going to have to look and see what my lesson is tonight. It's always subject to change, but I had 2 Timothy 3:12. I thought that would be a good lesson for tonight. They're all good for any time, but 2 Timothy 3:12 talks about in verse 13, I referenced a while ago, evil men and seducers will wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And so what can we do? The next verse says, continue thou in the things which thou hast learned. Don't change course. Just keep going. All right. Is there anything else before we close? Remember those in prayer who are recovering. Of course, Kathy with some oral surgery, but seems to be doing very well. And others who need our prayers as well. If there is nothing else, let's stand and sing number 738, and we'll ask Adam to dismiss us. One verse only. Take the name of Jesus with you, child of sorrow and of woe. It will joy and comfort give you. Take it then where you go. Precious name, oh how sweet. Hope of earth and joy of heaven. Precious name, oh how sweet. Hope of earth and joy of heaven.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all your many blessings. Please be with us as we go home today and help us be back here safely and be with all those who need your prayers. And need your help right now. In Christ's name, amen.
Have a good day.
All right, we'll see you.